Hello, make yourself comfortable. Tonight, there is nowhere to be and nothing to do except listen. Let your eyes close if they have not already. Tonight, you are on a houseboat, moored on a quiet canal somewhere in early spring. The mist has come in off the water. The night is still, and you have absolutely nowhere else to be. The houseboat is small and warm, the way all good small spaces are warm. Not from any particular effort, just from the accumulated heat of a person living in a contained space. The walls close enough to hold it, the low ceiling keeping it from rising and disappearing. You are sitting in the main cabin, which takes up most of the boat. A narrow space, but arranged with the particular ingenuity of people who have learned to live well in small places. A bench that runs along one side and converts to a bed, cushioned in a faded blue fabric, soft enough to sit on for hours. A small table, bolted to the floor the way things are bolted to floors on boats, with two mismatched mugs on it, one of them yours, still warm, holding the last of a cup of tea you made a little while ago. A bookshelf above the bench, the books held in place by a thin wooden rail so they don't fall when the boat moves. A lamp in the corner turned down low, casting just enough warm amber light to see by without disturbing the particular quiet of a spring night on the water. The walls of the cabin are painted a deep teal green, the paint slightly scuffed at the corners from years of things being carried in and out through the narrow doorway. Above the bookshelf, someone has painted a thin line of small yellow flowers directly onto the wall, freehand, slightly uneven, done with obvious care, a small act of decoration that costs nothing and gives the whole cabin a particular warmth it might not otherwise have. A round porthole on one side, small and thick-glassed, shows a circle of dark water and mist, the outside world reduced to that small, dim disk of reflected light. A small wood-burning stove sits at one end of the cabin, compact and efficient, a few small logs burning steadily inside it, the glass door showing the orange glow within. The stove is the heart of the boat on an evening like this. Early spring still carries the cold of winter in it after dark, and the stove pushes back against it gently, keeping the cabin at exactly the right temperature, warm without being hot, comfortable without being stuffy. You can hear the water outside. Always, on a houseboat, you can hear the water, a soft, irregular sound, the canal lapping very gently against the hull below you, not from any wind or weather, just from the natural movement of the water, the slow, persistent motion of something that is never entirely still. It is the most constant sound in your world right now, and also the softest. And it has been there since you arrived, and it will be there all night, and you have already stopped hearing it the way you hear other sounds. It has already become simply the background, the way the sea is background to people who live by it. Let your breathing slow down just a little. The boat holds you gently. The water holds the boat. There is nothing else required of you tonight. Through the small window above the bench, you can see the canal, or rather, you can see what the mist has left of it, a pale, soft blankness in the dark, the surface of the water barely visible through the low mist that has drifted in off the fields on either side of the towpath, settling on the canal in a thin, slow-moving layer, softening all the edges, turning the far bank into a suggestion rather than a fact. The mist is one of the particular pleasures of early spring on a canal. Not the thick fog of deep winter, not the clear air of summer, just this, a thin, soft, pearl grey layer drifting at water level, shifting very slowly, parting occasionally to show a dark reflection of the bank or the silhouette of a willow tree, then closing again, unhurried, as though the canal is simply thinking quietly to itself. Along the towpath, just visible through the window, the first few wildflowers of spring have appeared at the edge of the gravel, small and pale. You can't quite make out what kind in this light, but they are there. Having arrived while no one was paying particular attention, the way the first flowers of spring always seem to arrive, quietly and without announcement, simply present one day when they weren't the day before. A duck settles on the water somewhere nearby. You can hear the brief splash of its landing and then the small, diminishing ripples of it, and then quiet again. The canal resuming its soft, patient lapping against the hull. Notice how still everything is around you. Just the water and the mist and the soft creak of the boat settling on its mooring. There is nothing out there that needs your attention tonight. After a while, you pull on a light jacket hanging by the cabin door and you step outside, onto the narrow deck at the stern of the boat. The cold reaches you immediately, the particular cold of early spring after dark, sharp enough to notice, but not sharp enough to drive you back inside, the kind of cold that feels clarifying after a warm room, that makes you breathe more slowly and stand a little straighter. The mist is thicker out here than it looked through the window, low and soft, drifting across the surface of the canal in slow, barely visible currents, catching the faint light from the cabin behind you and glowing very faintly, the palest possible light, more an absence of full darkness than an actual glow. The canal stretches ahead of you and behind you into the dark, narrowing into the mist in both directions until it simply disappears, as though the boat exists on a stretch of water that has no beginning and no end. Just this quiet, mist-covered length of it, the towpath a dim suggestion on one side, the dark shapes of hedges and fields on the other. An old stone bridge is visible further along the canal, its arch low over the water, the stonework dark with age and moisture, the mist drifting through the arch in slow, soft ribbons, the underside of the arch reflecting a faint, wavering line of light from the water below it. There is something very old about a canal bridge like that. Something that makes the mist and the dark feel appropriate rather than eerie, as though the bridge has stood through so many such nights that this one is simply another in a long, uncountable series, and the mist and the quiet and the still water are exactly what it expects. Somewhere further along the canal, not close but not far, a frog calls. A short, low sound, very soft, almost experimental, as though it's testing the evening before committing to anything more. Then silence, then another call from a slightly different direction, a different frog, or possibly the same one, you can't tell. Then both of them together, briefly, and then quiet again. You lean against the stern rail, the metal cold under your hands, and you look out at the water. Let the cold air settle gently over you. There is nothing to see here except the mist and the dark and the faint reflection of the boat's light on the water below. Nothing here asks anything of you. The reflection of the cabin light on the canal is a long, warm streak, broken by the very slight movement of the water into something irregular and shifting, a painted reflection rather than a mirror one, soft at the edges, deepening to orange where the light is strongest and fading to nothing a little further out where the mist thickens. You watch this for a while, the way the reflection moves without the source moving, the way the water makes something living out of a still light, constantly rearranging the same warm colors into slightly different patterns, none of them lasting more than a moment before the next small ripple changes everything again. A narrowboat passes in the middle distance very slowly, its navigation lights just visible through the mist, a small green light on one side, a red on the other, moving steadily along the canal at the pace that narrowboats always move, which is barely faster than walking, which is perhaps the right speed for a canal on a night like this, or any night. You watch its lights until they disappear into the mist ahead, and then the canal is yours again, just water and mist and the very faint reflection of your own light on the surface. The frogs have found their rhythm now, a low, soft chorus from somewhere in the reeds on the far bank, irregular and unhurried, a spring sound, one of the first sounds of the year that isn't wind or rain or the stark call of winter birds. Something warmer than those, something that belongs to mud and new growth and water, getting ready to be warm again. Let the cold air settle even further. You have been outside long enough. The cabin is warm and waiting. You push yourself upright from the rail and you turn and you step back through the cabin door, pulling it closed behind you, and the warmth of the stove reaches you immediately, and you shrug off the jacket and hang it back on its hook, and you stand for a moment in the middle of the cabin, feeling the warmth work its way back into your hands and face, the cold of the outside giving way gradually, the way it always does to the steady, patient heat of the small stove in the corner. You make another cup of tea, filling the small kettle from the tap and setting it on the gas ring, and while you wait for it to boil, you move slowly around the cabin, noticing things the way you notice things on a boat, which is differently from how you notice things in a house, more aware of the small movements, the occasional soft groan of the hull, the very slight shift of the floor beneath you as the boat rocks almost imperceptibly on the water. The bookshelf holds a small collection of paperbacks left by previous visitors, their covers faded from sun through the small windows. A field guide to canal wildlife, its pages swollen slightly from the humidity that comes with living on water. A folded map of this particular waterway, the canal traced in blue across the pale paper, the locks marked, the villages named, the distances noted in the careful shorthand of people who travel slowly and need to know exactly how far the next mooring is. A small corkboard is pinned above the galley, covered in notes and cards and a few photographs. A previous mooring in summer, the towpath lined with cow parsley, the canal, a deep summer green behind it. A hand-drawn sketch of the boat itself, from the outside done in pencil, slightly out of proportion but affectionate, the kind of drawing someone makes when they love a thing and want to record it. A postcard of somewhere that has nothing to do with canals, just someone's holiday, sent here to this boat because it was home at the time. The kettle begins to murmur, low and steady, and you take it off just before it reaches full boil. And you make the tea slowly, and you carry it back to the bench, and you sit down with it, and you pull the blanket from the back of the bench over your lap. Let your body feel heavy now, the warmth of the tea in your hands, the warmth of the stove at the end of the cabin. There is nowhere to go from here. The canal goes on in both directions, but tonight it goes nowhere. Tonight it simply holds you, quietly, in the mist. The boat shifts very slightly beneath you, a slow, almost imperceptible rock, and you feel it through the bench, through the floor, a gentle, rhythmic motion, the canal breathing beneath the hull. It is one of the particular things about sleeping on a boat. The motion never completely stops, it simply becomes very small, a residual movement, the water making itself known in the subtlest possible way, a reminder that you are floating, that the ground beneath you is not ground at all, that there is depth below you, dark and quiet, and the boat rests on it as lightly as it can. The mooring ropes creak very softly, just once, as the boat settles against them, and then everything goes quiet again, except for the water. You notice how the sound of the stove, a faint, low murmur of combustion, barely audible, has become part of the background, part of the general warmth and stillness of the cabin, something you register only when you pay attention to it. The way the water against the hull is something you register only when you pay attention to it. The way most of the comfortable sounds of a safe, warm place eventually become simply the sound of that place, indistinguishable from the feeling of being in it. Through the window, the mist has thickened slightly, or perhaps it simply seems thicker now that it's later. Now that less of the world is lit and more of it has given itself over to dark and water, the far bank has disappeared completely. The towpath is just visible, a dim suggestion of solid ground, the gravel path running along it pale in the dark. An old stone bridge is visible further along, its arch low over the water, the stonework dark with age and moisture, the mist drifting through the arch in slow, soft ribbons. A moorhen calls from somewhere in the reeds, a sharp, sudden sound, and then nothing. The canal settling back into its soft, patient quiet, as though the sound never happened. Let your thoughts move slowly now, the way they do late at night on water. There is nothing to plan, nothing to remember, nothing to solve, just the boat and the canal and the mist and the small warm cabin around you. Later, you set your mug down and you step outside one more time, just briefly, just to see how the night has changed. The mist has thinned a little since you were last out here, or perhaps shifted slightly, and above it, where it has parted and pulled back from the sky, you can see stars. Not many, just a few, just the brightest ones visible through the pale thinness of the high cloud above the mist, small and steady and very far away. You stand on the stern deck and you tilt your head back and you look at them. There is something about stars seen through mist that is different from stars seen through clear air. They are softer, slightly diffused, their light scattered, just enough by the moisture in the atmosphere to give each of them a faint halo, a small blur of brightness around the point of light itself, so that instead of being sharp and precise, they are gentle, approximate, the way the memory of a light is rather than the light itself. The canal below you reflects them faintly, imperfectly, the mist on the surface breaking the reflection into something scattered and soft, small points of light shifting and dimming and reappearing as the water moves, as the mist moves, as everything continues its slow, patient motion. You breathe in the cold night air, and it smells of water and mud, and the particular faint green smell of new things growing, the smell of early spring doing its patient, invisible work in the dark, the bulbs pushing up through the towpath verge, the reeds sending their new shoots up through the still cold water, everything preparing for something warmer that is not quite here yet, but is coming steadily, certainly, in the way that seasons always come. Let your eyes rest on the stars or on the idea of them somewhere above you. There is nothing up there you need to count or name or locate, just light, very far away, doing what it has always done, patient and unhurried, and entirely indifferent to the hour. A single swan appears from somewhere in the mist, moving slowly along the canal without sound, its white shape the most visible thing in the dark, almost luminous, drifting past the stern of the boat so close you could reach out and nearly touch it, its neck curved, its eyes dark and calm, completely unbothered by your presence on the deck above it. You watch it move past, and it continues along the canal without pausing, without acknowledging you, simply moving in the direction it was moving, at the pace it was moving, as though it has places to go even at this hour, or simply as though it is always moving, and the stillness of the canal is only ever relative, measured against something that is always, always slowly going somewhere. It disappears into the mist ahead, and the canal closes quietly over the small wake it left, and the mist settles back, and the stars go on overhead, soft and scattered, and the frogs begin again somewhere in the reeds, very softly, and the water laps against the hull, and the night continues. You step back inside. Your mind drifts loose from the cabin the way it does in the last stretch before sleep, and you find yourself remembering other water, other evenings, the details soft and layered now, not one specific memory, but a feeling made of many. A river somewhere, seen from a bridge on a summer evening, the current slow and dark below, a single rowing boat moving with it, going wherever the current went, the person in it not rowing, just sitting, just being carried. You stood and watched until the boat rounded a bend and disappeared, and something about that, the easy surrender of it, the letting go, stayed with you. A harbour, somewhere else early in the morning before anyone else was awake, the fishing boats sitting low in the water, the ropes from their moorings making a soft, irregular percussion against the dock as the water moved beneath them, the whole harbour smelling of salt and rope and diesel and cold stone. You remember sitting on a bollard and watching the light come up over the water and thinking that you could sit there for a very long time and not minding that thought at all. Other water, other evenings, other mornings, other particular qualities of light on moving surfaces, the way water is never the same color twice, The way it holds whatever light is given to it and gives it back changed, made softer, made more alive somehow, less fixed. Let these memories drift through you, soft and warm. There is nothing you need to hold on to, nothing you need to remember correctly, just the feeling of being near water and the particular ease of it. You think of the canal outside, the mist drifting across it now in the full dark, the frogs quiet now, the water making its small sounds against the hull, the bridge further along standing in the dark, the way it has stood for a very long time, patient and indifferent, watching the water pass beneath it season after season, year after year. You think of all the boats that have been moored here, or somewhere close to here on other spring nights, other misty nights, other nights when someone lay in a narrow bunk and listened to the water and felt the slow, gentle rock of the hull and let that rocking carry them into sleep. You think of the water below the hull right now, dark and deep and entirely still in the places where the mist doesn't reach, and then not still at all where the canal moves, always moving, always finding its way slowly along between the banks, going wherever it goes, unhurried and certain. None of these thoughts arrive with any urgency. They simply rise briefly and then settle back down again the way the boat itself rises and settles very gently on the water. Your breathing has slowed now, matching itself almost to the rhythm of the water against the hull. You are not thinking about anything in particular anymore. Thoughts drift past, loose and unconnected, the way the mist drifts past the window, the pale reflection of the stove light on the low ceiling of the cabin, the cold smell of the outside still faintly on your jacket hanging by the door, the frogs quiet now, the narrow boat, its lights long since swallowed by the mist, the stone bridge dark and patient, the mist drifting, going nowhere in particular, in no particular hurry, none of them needing anything from you, none of them needing to be followed or finished. You let them drift. The water is the last thing you are really aware of now, soft and constant, lapping very gently against the hull below you, the same sound it has made all evening, all night, the same sound it will make when you are deep asleep, the same sound it has probably made on this stretch of canal for longer than the boat has been here, longer than the bridge has stood, longer than you can imagine. It doesn't need anything from you. It simply continues, slow and quiet, carrying the boat, carrying the mist, carrying the night forward into whatever comes after it, while you, in the small warm cabin above it, finally, completely let go. Sleep well. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. Just here, just this, just the water and the mist and the slow, gentle rock of a boat that has nowhere to be either and is perfectly content with that.